We see a man named Abe calmly playing chess at a small table. At first glance, he looks like an ordinary gentleman enjoying a quiet game. But Abe is no ordinary man. He is a ruthless crime boss who controls the entire Eastern Territory. Sitting across from him is Frankie, another notorious gangster who rules the West. Both are dangerous, unpredictable, and known for their cruelty. Yet here they are, smiling across the chessboard as if the game were nothing more than a friendly pastime. The next morning, everything changes. Abe is sound asleep when his little daughter wakes him up. Now we see a different side of him. Abe is a husband and a father, and he loves his family more than anything in the world. At home, he is calm and nothing like the terrifying boss that people fear on the streets. Their family seems peaceful and happy, far removed from the bloody world Abe lives in. After taking a shower, Abe joins them for breakfast and makes himself a cup of coffee. He tells his wife that everyone would love his coffee because, in his opinion, it tastes amazing. She laughs and teases him, saying it tastes just like cheap instant coffee from the corner store. Their daughter asks for permission to stay overnight at her grandmother's house. Abe agrees, reminding her not to forget her homework. Soon after, Abe steps outside where his driver Benjamin is already waiting for him. Back inside the house, Abe's wife notices a bottle of medication that he accidentally left behind, medicine for his bipolar disorder. Outside, Abe hands Benjamin a cup of the same coffee he brewed earlier. Benjamin takes a sip, and Abe eagerly asks what he thinks. The driver smiles and says it tastes great, which fills Abe with pride and happiness. But as they start to drive, Benjamin adds another comment, saying that it tastes wonderful, especially for instant coffee. On the other side of town, a police car quietly follows Abe and Benjamin. By now, they seem used to it. For men like them, surveillance is nothing new. After a while, Abe grows tired of being tailed and calmly tells Benjamin to speed up. Without hesitation, Benjamin agrees. When the traffic light turns red, Benjamin suddenly makes a sharp right turn. The police, caught off guard, drive straight ahead and lose sight of them. In the car, Abe begins talking about his plans for the evening. He has a meeting scheduled with Frankie, the boss of the Western Territory. Abe is furious because Frankie has crossed the line and started interfering with the East, Abe's domain. Then, Abe tries to call a man named Richard, who handles money laundering for his organization. But strangely, Richard refuses to answer, even though Abe just paid him. The longer the phone rings, the angrier Abe becomes. By the time he hangs up, he has already made up his mind. Richard must be eliminated. Abe meets with his assistant and hands him an envelope. Inside is everything needed to track Richard down. Abe gives a simple order: deliver this to apartment number 23 exactly at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We see another man named Cain, a brutal mercenary known for his ruthless way of dealing with assigned targets. In the morning, he trains with deadly precision, landing powerful punches on a boxing bag. After finishing his workout, Cain goes into a store to buy some alcohol. At the counter, two thugs stare at him, trying to provoke him with their looks. In his mind, Cain imagines how he could instantly take them down, but in reality, he stays calm. Two police officers have just entered the store, and Cain realizes this is not the time to start a fight. Shortly after, Cain enters his apartment building. A neighbor tries to provoke him, but since a woman is standing nearby, Cain controls himself and walks away. In his room, he takes off his clothes and heads to the shower. Abe's assistant approaches Cain's door. Exactly at 3 o'clock, he slides an envelope underneath it, just as ordered. Coming out of the shower, Cain notices the envelope, picks it up, and turns on the TV. The news is showing a brutal attack that took place the night before. The killer on the screen is Cain himself. He coldly watches the aftermath of his work without showing the slightest emotion. Then he opens the envelope and finds files and photos of Richard. Cain immediately understands that Richard is his next target. Now we see Richard. He is at home with his pregnant wife. The phone rings, and without even looking, Richard knows it must be Abe. He declines the call. Soon after, Richard heads to the shower, saying that he has an important meeting with a client. Meanwhile, his wife is in the kitchen cooking when she hears a message notification. Curious, she checks Richard's phone. She finds not work emails but a chat with another woman. Richard is not meeting a client, he is meeting someone else. A few minutes later, Richard, getting ready to leave, lies to his wife, saying she should not wait for him because the meeting will last late into the night. Richard leaves the house, unaware that his wife is quietly following him from a distance. Unnoticed by either of them, Cain, like a shadow, follows Richard's car. While driving, Richard calls the woman he plans to meet. The woman admits she feels guilty because Richard's wife is pregnant. Richard reassures her, saying their affair will never be discovered. Meanwhile, Richard's wife keeps calling her sister Kelly, but Kelly does not answer. After several attempts, Kelly finally picks up. Her sister, in tears, says that Richard is seeing another woman and she does not know what to do. Kelly tells her to calm down and not to worry. It turns out that Kelly is the very woman Richard was planning to meet. Shocked, Kelly begs Richard not to come tonight. Instead of listening, Richard goes to the meeting while Cain persistently continues to follow him. In the parking lot, Cain takes his gun and approaches Richard. Richard fights back, and when Cain fires the first shot, he misses. As the fight ends, a stray bullet, by a cruel twist of fate, hits Richard's wife, who had been following him. She dies, and Cain, stunned by what has happened, flees the crime scene on his motorcycle. While riding, he stops and calls Abe's wife, trying to find out where Abe is. A few hours later, Abe, accompanied by his driver Benjamin, arrives at a secret bar. He came here to meet Frankie, the Western boss. Frankie enters with his younger brother. Abe extends his hand for a handshake, but Frankie refuses. The younger brother mocks Abe in Greek, confident that Abe will not understand, but Abe knows the language and catches every insult. They sit down, and Abe asks why Frankie keeps encroaching on the East, which belongs to him. Frankie stays silent, then suggests they play a game of chess. Abe agrees. Before the first move, Frankie asks what is at stake. He proposes a deal. If he wins, the East will belong to him. If he loses, he will pay Abe a good amount of money. Frankie's words are a direct challenge to Abe's authority, an attempt to humiliate him. Abe responds with a cold rule. The wager in this game is not land or money, but life itself. The loser will be killed on the spot. Frankie laughs at first, thinking Abe is joking about wagering their lives. But when he looks into Abe's eyes, he realizes he is serious. Not wanting to risk his life over a chess game, Frankie and his brother stand up to leave. But before they can take a step, Abe's right-hand man and another mercenary block their way. No one leaves. Cornered, Frankie tries to regain control of the situation. He warns Abe not to escalate things because he has already sent his men to capture Abe's family. One phone call, he says, and Abe's wife and daughter will be dead. But Abe remains calm. He leans back in his chair and tells Frankie, "Go ahead, make the call." If Frankie is so sure of himself, let him prove it. Frankie has no choice but to call his men. We see a scene in Abe's house where Frankie's men break down the door, but the house is empty. No wife, no daughter. On the floor lies a small box. When they open it, the entire house explodes. Abe had planned this from the beginning. He moved his family and planted a bomb long before the men arrived. Now Frankie has no leverage left. With no way out and no options remaining, he has no choice but to sit down and play. Frankie is tense and breathing heavily, while Abe moves his chess pieces with eerie calmness. But in the middle of the game, Abe begins to tremble. His mind starts slipping away. He suddenly remembers the pills for his bipolar disorder that he left at home that morning. Without the medication, his grasp on reality weakens. Gradually, he loses control of the board. Frankie wins. Seizing the moment, Frankie leans forward and begins to mock Abe, savoring his victory. But at that very moment, Abe snaps back to reality. In a fit of rage, he pulls out a gun and kills Frankie's brother right before his eyes. Chaos erupts. Abe loses control, ranting, shouting, and laughing all at once. He turns to his right-hand man and asks how many people they have killed over the years. The man replies that he has lost count. Those words only fuel Abe's madness. In a frenzy, Abe kills his own assistant and everyone else in the room. Benjamin, Abe's driver, can do nothing but watch as the massacre unfolds. He realizes what has happened. Abe has completely lost control of himself. His other personality has taken over entirely. At that moment, Cain enters the room and points a gun at Frankie. Without hesitation, Cain executes him. Then he turns to Benjamin and says that the men in this room got what they deserved. Cain hands him a gun and offers a toast to their bloody night. When Benjamin refuses, Cain points the gun at him and starts counting to 3. If Benjamin does not shoot first, Cain will. And at that moment, the truth becomes painfully clear. Cain is Abe. Abe suffers from a split personality. Inside him lives a cold, merciless killer. Without his medication, Cain has completely taken over. With no other choice, Benjamin fires first on the count of 2, killing Abe before Cain can pull the trigger. Silence fills the room. Abe is dead. After that, all rights to the territories pass to Benjamin. With both Abe and Frankie dead, the East and West now belong to him. It turns out Benjamin was never just an innocent driver. He was just as ruthless as the men he served. That is where the movie ends.